What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to In the Lane podcast. This is the podcast where your favorite New England athletes, coaches, and more are interviewed and answer questions ranging from their sport, life, and everything else in between. I'm your host, Mike Lane, and today we welcome current MMA fighter for the New England Cartel, Tom Pagliarulo, coming up next on In the Lane podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. This is the 9th edition of In the Lane podcast, recorded at the North Andover Community Access Station here in North Andover, Massachusetts. I'm Mike Lane, the host of the show, and joining us today is our guest, Tom Pagliarulo, also known as Tom Pags. Thank you for coming on the show, Tom. I'm so excited you're joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to be here and chop it up with you a little bit.
Absolutely. First of all, I got to ask you, how was Aruba? I always see on your Instagram that you're traveling to who knows where. How was it?
Yeah, it was fun, man. My wife's parents, they got a little house out there, so pretty cheap to go out there, just pay for flights and have a nice place to stay. So it's good to unwind a little bit for a weekend. I feel like I've been on the road, traveling, training, coaching, just doing a ton of stuff. So it was nice to just have a weekend to chill out and do a lot of relaxing.
That's awesome. Growing up, were you involved in sports as a kid, or did it come later in life?
Yeah, my parents had me involved in sports. Man, I want to say like the time I was 3 years old. They had me skiing. I did karate, soccer, baseball, pretty much all the sports every kid kind of grows up playing. I'd say I did karate and like baseball the longest, and then I got into football a little bit in middle school. I started wrestling in fourth grade, so I actually did wrestling the longest. But as a child, like I'd say the karate and the baseball were like my big ones. Then I got into wrestling in fourth grade, and that's the one that really stuck.
Okay.
I started quitting everything else. I played football through middle school. I let that stick around. But once I got to high school, it was just only wrestling. I did it year-round. I started doing it year-round. I think in middle school I was up at Smitty's Barn, and I was in Danville at the time. It's in Kingston now. But, yeah, I just started wrestling and went through high school, did that up until college, and then I started getting into fighting a little bit right out of high school. But, yeah, I've been playing sports my whole life pretty much.
And you said wrestling has stood out from the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that is?
I think I really like the one-on-one aspect. You have a team and you work together, but when it's time to perform, it's just you out there, and you got no one to really blame but yourself, or succeed but for yourself out there. So I really like that. Something about, like, hand-to-hand combat. I don't know. That's always kind of been interesting to me. It's like I feel like it's the purest form of competition, right? You're going out there, you and one other person, and you guys are going to duke it out and see who's the better man or better woman. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just I liked it. And I don't know why I liked it so much, because I wasn't really good at it at first. I'd get smoked. I've never been, like, naturally athletic. I just worked really hard, and I just kept doing it, stuck with it. Once I got over to Smitty's Barn, I got beat up even more. And then eventually I started to catch up a little bit to these guys, and I got pretty decent at it. And, I just loved it. I still love it.
That's incredible. Were you a big MMA fan growing up, or did that come once you started wrestling?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I wasn't like a huge fan really growing up. I watched it on TV with wrestling. It used to be on Spike TV, which isn't around anymore. I don't even know if you've ever seen Spike TV. You're a little younger than me.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it was on this channel called Spike TV, and it was just like free to watch. And I'd always watch it. And I remember thinking at the time watching it, like, thank God I never have to do this, because I just thought it was so crazy. And now here I am doing it. But I wouldn't say I was so much like a super fan of it. I just kind of found it through wrestling, and got into it through that. And then I don't know, I just really liked it. Like I said, I think it's the purest form of competition, and I just fell in love with it once I tried it.
You wrestled in high school. Mm-hmm. Where did you wrestle for in high school?
Central Catholic.
Central Catholic.
Yeah.
And you previously stated that it took you some time to get to where you are today. Like you were saying, I wasn't naturally athletic, but now you're fighting the MMA. So what do you think led to you becoming who you are?
Yeah, for sure. I think it would just be like some advice I'd give to someone, right, who's not like naturally talented. Don't quit on yourself, right? It doesn't mean like a lot of times those are the guys who go a lot further than the naturally talented guys because everything kind of comes easy to them, right? They don't have to put in as much work. It's quick reward for them, and that's short term, right? If you can really lock in and stay focused, be coachable. I say that's number one, right? You got to be coachable, and that's something I think I've always been. I've listened to what I'm told from my coaches. I do what they ask of me, and I just give my 100%, right? And then just keep showing up. Consistency. That's the other thing, right? If you're kind of wishy-washy with your training schedule or whatever you're pursuing, you're probably not going to make the gains you want to see. So I'd say being consistent. And then, again, just hard work. Hard work, consistency, coachability. Those are the three things. And I think that's what I've just stuck to. No matter how hard it was or how poorly I did, I'm just going to stick to those three things. And over time, I just started to kind of leapfrog these guys a little bit. Now it's gotten to the point where, like, I'm competing against guys who I used to look up to, as a kid in wrestling and stuff. Like, I'm fighting in the same leagues as some of these D1 All-Americans and right up there with them now and hopefully competing against some of them soon and on the cusp of the UFC and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know. Like I said, natural talent and hard work are two different things. And when you can just stay consistent and be dedicated to your goal, I think that's kind of what was that turning point for me. It just took a little longer in life.
That's some great advice that I think that wrestlers, but also just any other athletes could really use. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did any of your family members ever do wrestling or martial arts?
Yeah.
And did that influence you in any way to join wrestling, or was it something that you found on your own?
Yeah, no, my dad is the reason I got into wrestling. He was a wrestler growing up. He wrestled in high school. I think he wrestled club in college a little bit. But he was actually one of my first coaches. So I started at the Haverhill Recreation Program, Haverhill Youth Wrestling, and my dad was one of the coaches there. So, yeah, that's just kind of how I got into it. My brother wrestled a little bit. I did it the longest. My brother did it for like 3 years. My dad, high school and a little bit college, and then I did it elementary to college. So I don't know. I think I definitely fell in love with it the most, and I can thank my dad for that. But he coached me right up until high school, and then he would even, while I was in high school, he'd come to all my Smitty's practices and stuff. Like he loves it. He brought me around the country to go compete and stuff, and yeah, it was pretty much our lives until I left for college.
Did you end up wrestling in college, or did you start training for the MMA?
Yeah, so I did wrestle in college. I started training for MMA right out of high school. A former wrestler was getting ready for a fight. He had been doing MMA, and he had asked me if I could come in and help him a little bit with the wrestling because he didn't really have any wrestlers in the gym. So I went in and I got into a little bit with him, and I was like sparring my first week, which don't ever do that. And I got smoked, and then I got like addicted to it because I was like, I'm like very obsessive. I was like, I need to get better at this. I need to get better. So I just started showing up all the time. Then I turned into my own career. I was like, I guess I want to fight now. And then at the same time, I was going to college and I was wrestling. So all my amateur fights were during college, and I was fighting and wrestling at the same time. And then by my sophomore year, I was like, I need to pick one. This is too much. Like I can't juggle both. So I stopped wrestling first semester of sophomore year. I did like 2 competitions that year, and then I was like, all right. And I was doing decent too. I was ranked 6th in the region in college, and then
where'd you wrestle?
Plymouth State. And then I was like, I kind of want to just pursue fighting a little more and go all in on that. I was a little burnt out with wrestling, just been doing it for so long, and this was something new, and I always felt like if I could hit those guys that I was losing to, I could definitely beat them. So I went all in on fighting.
Would you say your coaches from Plymouth State were supportive of that decision, or were they like kind of bummed that we have this great guy, but now he wants to fight in the MMA?
Yeah.
What do we do?
I think it's a little bit of both. I lucked out. My head coach, Ryan Cheating at Plymouth State, he's the Bedford high school coach now. He was a pro fighter himself, and he was very supportive of it. Like he'd bring me, I'd go to wrestling practice, and he'd drive me a little over an hour to Manchester to an MMA gym to go train, and then he'd bring me back to school. So this is my freshman year. So he's driving me to practice. He cornered me in some of my fights. I won my first amateur belt. He was in my corner. He went all the way to Maine with me for that. So he was super supportive of it. We still talk. And, he's still one of the reasons I'm, like, took it as far as I did is because he kind of gave me the path to go do this and the support to go do it.
That's really cool. Was there ever a moment, either in MMA or just wrestling in college or high school, that you were really struggling and you felt or tempted to quit, but you ended up sticking through? And what led to you sticking through, even though through those hard challenges?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, college, I guess I kind of did quit, right? Because I went to fight, but I guess it wasn't to like not compete anymore. It was to go compete in something else. But I'd say high school, I had moments like senior year. I used to just cut weight terribly. I was cutting down to like 126 my senior year. I was like the same height I am now. I was like 146 walking around, and I would just balloon up after every tournament. So I just did it wrong and hated it. It kind of was like made myself hate it because I was just too worried on cutting weight instead of focus on wrestling and getting better at wrestling. So I'd say towards the end of my senior season, I don't know. I was a little burnt out with it because of that, but I finished and I did well. I was third in the state and stuff, but it was like, I know I could have won state. I always felt really short of my goals in high school, and I think if I could go back and reprioritize some of like what is actually important versus what I thought was important now, and you'll notice that as you get a little older and you're out of high school, you'll look back on some things and be like, oh, I wish I did these different, but then you got the rest of your life to go change that stuff. So
absolutely,
kind of use fighting as like my second fight, right? Everything I didn't accomplish in wrestling, it's like, well, now I'm locked in and doing this the right way, and I'm gonna do that and some in fighting, and so it was definitely tricky in high school, but I'm glad I stuck it out and then tried it in college, and now I'm still competing. So
absolutely, I was about to say, even if you don't get something the first time, like let's say in wrestling, you still have your whole life to learn from that and then apply it in the rest of your life. It's really, really good.
Yep.
First, I've been watching more MMA since we first met, and are there different levels to MMA fighting? I know you're fighting for the PFL, is that correct?
Yeah.
So do you have to like qualify for that, or can you just sign up, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for someone who wanted to get into MMA, right, like there's a bunch of different avenues you take. Like you start training at a gym, obviously, and the first like bit of competition you do, we call it a smoker. So a smoker is like an unsanctioned fight, and it's almost like a gym will host it. It's almost like competitive sparring. It's just really hard sparring, right? There's no winner. They just kind of like both raise your hands, kind of like a participation thing. But you get the experience of being in a fight with a little bit of a crowd, people coming out to support you, and feeling that, right? You normally wear headgear, there's shin guards, they're big gloves, so it's like a kickboxing smoker. You can do some grappling tournaments, jiu-jitsu tournaments to get familiar, and then you'd fight as an amateur in MMA, right? You'll do a couple of those. I had 6 amateur fights, and obviously you want to be doing well in those, and you want to be taking hard fights as an amateur, right? You don't want easy fights. You want to fight guys who are going to help you gain experience and prepare you for the pros if that's what you're aspiring to do. And then eventually your coach will tell you, or the people around you, if you're around the right people, will tell you like, hey, we think you're ready to go pro now, right? So every state's different. There's like little qualifications, like they want to see a certain amount of like wins versus losses in amateur before you go pro. Most places you can just like pay for your pro license and fight pro. And then once you're professional, right? So like my record right now, I'm 10-2 as a professional. If I fought in the UFC, I'm still 10-2. It's not like your record resets. Like when you see these records announced in the UFC, these aren't like their UFC records. You're a pro fighter now. So you know what I mean? So it's just the highest organization you'd fight in is the UFC, and the PFL is kind of right there with them, right? So you wouldn't just like turn pro and be like, I'm fighting in the PFL. Like they have to call you and like offer you a contract.
Got it.
You'd fight regionally. So you'd fight for around here we have like Combat Zone, Cage Titans, promotions like that. And eventually you climb the ladder there, right? And the goal would be like, let's win a belt in one of these promotions, right? So I won the Cage Titans belt. And it's not like you're going to fight some like easy guy. I feel like the guy I won my belt over he fought in the UFC, right? So some of these guys get cut and they come back and they try and build their way back up. So once you get to the upper end of like the regionals and stuff, that's where they're going to start. These bigger promotions like the PFL, the UFC are going to call you and kind of give you an opportunity. And then it's a whole thing with contracts, right? So the PFL, like the UFC doesn't do this, but the PFL gave me a 1-fight contract, right? Because I didn't want a multi-fight deal with them. I wanted 1 fight because I want to fight in the UFC. This is kind of short notice, but it's ESPN. It's a little more money. You're going to make more money in these promotions than you will regionally. So it was a no-brainer to take it. But I didn't want to be locked in to only being able to fight for them. So I took my 1-fight contract, did well. You sit down with them after, they talk, they try and get you to sign with them for multiple fights. You keep some doors open, and you kind of, I'm in a good place with them. If that's where I want to go back to, I can. But I'm also getting some feedback from the UFC right now, and I feel like there's going to be a door that opens up with them soon. It's just kind of a matter of like when and when we're ready for that. So yeah, it takes a little bit. Like I went pro in 2021. I started fighting in 2017. So it takes some time to like, build yourself up. You don't just go pro and be like, all right, I'm gonna sign up for the UFC or the PFL. It's like you got to go earn it, and you can't be like a losing record and like get called. You have to kind of be exciting.
Would you say now you're in the fighting MMA? Would you say you've stuck more as a grappler, or do you think you've more transitioned to striker, or would you say you're somewhere in between?
Yeah, definitely would appear more of a striker. I'm still really good at grappling. I still wrestle all the time. I do jiu-jitsu all the time, but I'm 10-2, and 8 of those wins are knockouts. And then even my amateur career, I was 5-1. I think 4 of them were by knockout, or 3 of them, and I had a submission. But yeah, I just fell in love with the striking. It's kind of similar to wrestling. Like boxing and wrestling are very similar. Once you start learning it, it's like kind of just in a wrestling stance, but a little more upright, and like things like a jab. That's kind of like your post in wrestling, and I don't know. It just helped me learn it a little better, I think, and you kind of understand how to like move your body in a combat aspect, and then having this length and stuff, all that, like being a longer, taller guy, I learned how to use my length and the Muay Thai and all that, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just knocking people out is easier than wrestling, and eventually, I gotta mix it up a little more in there. I still can grapple, and as the fights get harder, you got to mix it all up a little more. But I'm definitely, if someone watched my fights, they'd say I'm a striker for sure.
Your last fight, which is what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Was that your 12th fight? Because you said you're 10-2. How was preparing for that fight? Do you train the same for most of your fights, or do you alter your training a little bit depending on who you're fighting?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit about who you're fighting, but you don't change it too much, right? You want to stay focused on what you're going to do, what you do best, and you address some of the things that maybe are your weaknesses and things your opponent's going to offer, right? But when you obsess on things, I used to do this in wrestling a lot, when you obsess on what your opponent's good at, you kind of fall into their game, right? Because it's like you've just created this thought process of their reactions and their go-tos, right? And you almost fall into it. Like my first loss as a pro, the kid was really good leg kicker, right? He'd kick everyone's calf, and I knew it was coming, and I was so obsessed with it that like it just was happening, and I was just like watching. It was like, there it is, happening. And I lost the fight, a split decision, because I just obsessed over what he was going to do instead of like focusing on what I want to do. So I'd say for this fight, no, I didn't change much. The guy was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got a lot of submissions. He'd never been knocked out, so I was expecting like a longer fight or finish him on the ground or something, or submit him, but the game plan's kind of, don't even give him a chance on the ground, make him stand with you. And he was a little better on the feet than I thought he'd be for the first part of that round, but I figured him out, found my timing and found my openings, and was able to put him away. So preparation was about the same as all my other ones.
So that was the first time he's ever been knocked out. What was what was going through your mind when the last fight took place? I believe, wasn't it in Atlantic City, New Jersey?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind as soon as you entered the cage? It's like such a lot of people there, and it's you versus the other guy in that tight cage. What was going through your mind?
So I'd say it's pretty similar every time. This one was like definitely the biggest stage I fought on. It's the lights are a little brighter. It's a big arena, a lot of people there. It's on TV, so that's kind of in the back of your head, But once you're in there, you kind of block all that stuff out, and I tell everyone, man, who's ever like wrestled or stuff, it's very similar once things get going. You're just competing, right? Like once a match starts, you shake hands, and like there's kind of that awkward tension in the beginning of a match, but once you make contact, someone shoots, it's like, now you're just competing. You're on autopilot, right?
Exactly.
So it's kind of like that, but I'd say like for me recently, the big shift I've had is I'm in there and I'm like, I'm just having fun. I'm like, I love it. I love competing so much. I love fighting so much. And when I'm in there, it's like, I don't want to sound like one of these macho, like hard guys, but it's like, it's kill or be killed kind of, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, all right, like I have it's like fight or flight takes over, right?
Yep.
And that fight or flight response for me is like, I have this thing in front of me that wants to kill me, right? And some people freeze up because of that, and they get nervous and they don't do enough. My response is I want to take this thing out as fast as I can and get this thing away from me, because that's safety, right? If I put this thing away, I can stop this guy. That's safety. That's a win. I go home. So that's my mentality. It's like offense, let's get to it. Let's take this thing out. Let's take out the danger that's in front of me. And that's my fight or flight response. So I feel like that's kind of where I go in there. it's like, let's get right to it. Let's start the action. Like, I'm a very fast starter. I don't like to kind of wait. I like to go in there and get right to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go in there, and I'm thinking, let's have fun and let's go to war.
And for that match, or just like in any wrestling or MMA matches that you've competed in, do you tend to watch film of your opponent, or do you tend to stay away from that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Everyone has different approaches with that. I used to not watch any film at all so I started watching a ton of film, right, when I first started. And then going back to that, like, obsessing over what they do and not worrying about what you're going to do, that kind of took over a lot. So then I took that loss, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try, like, watching less film and just focus on me. I let my coaches watch all the film. I think the happy medium for me now is I watch, like, their most recent fight, maybe one other, and then I kind of just step away. I let my coaches watch, and I just like to see, like, how they move. What are some of their tendencies, little weak areas I think they have, and then I let my coaches do, like, the real deep dive into it. So I definitely watched a little bit of film on this kid. I watched his most recent fight, and then we had a similar opponent. We had a common opponent that we both fought, so I watched that just to see how we handled different things, and that was about it. And then I was just focused on, what am I going to do to this guy?
What are your goals now fighting in the MMA, but also some goals that you have as just being the best overall person that you can be?
Yeah, I'd say that's the number one part, that second part you just said, right? How can we be the best person we can be? And then everything else is going to flourish because of that, right? When you do it the opposite, how can I just be good at fighting, right? Everything else in your life goes on the back burner. Yeah. And that's how you kind of burn out in what you're doing. So even with, like, wrestling for you guys, it's like you want to love it. You want to love your life. You want to love what you're doing, and you're going to love wrestling that much more. So, yeah, being a good person, I'd say, like, I just want to inspire people, right? That's part of my motivation in this thing is, like, show everyone from the Merrimack Valley and kids like you coming up wrestling, right? Like, we come from a special place, and we thrive on hard work. We're gritty. We have that gritty mentality, and that can take you really far if you use it the right way. So, yeah, just keep giving myself a better life through this thing that I get to do, right? I don't have to fight. I get to do this. Yeah. And I think that's the coolest part about it. And just keep giving back to the community. That's the big thing with all this, right? I always want to keep giving back, helping out where I can, and just building you young bucks up.
Do you have any more, like, professional fights lined up?
Nothing right now. Like I said, we kind of had some back and forth with the UFC matchmaker. Okay. So kind of just in a little holding pattern right now. I got some, like, training situations we're trying to figure out. I might be moving my camps around a little bit where I do my training. So kind of just ironing that out and getting those details right before we hop into a camp. I want everything to be kind of, like, settled with that. And I also got some little nagging injuries. I'm letting heal up right now. The sport will beat you up a lot, especially in training. So, nothing booked right now, but hopefully kind of soon.
So I'll tell you a little bit of a story.
Let's hear it.
Once I heard that you were fighting in Atlantic City, I was like, okay, I've got to watch this. But I didn't have ESPN Plus at the time. Yeah. So then I contacted my buddy and asked if he had ESPN Plus. But he had Disney Plus, and with that, I got the 3 bundle, and I got all of it.
There you go.
So I was like, okay, I can't wait to watch this. And it happened to be on my parents' anniversary, and we were picking my sister up from college because she goes to Virginia Tech. And I was trying to get Wi-Fi in Logan Airport, and you know how that is. It's very, very, very bad. And by the time, like, I didn't know the order of the fights. Yeah. So I didn't know that you were first. And by the time I got it on, I already got a notification that you won by knockout. I was so upset. I was like, I'm so happy for him, but I missed it. But then I saw the replay, and I was just mesmerized. I'm like, oh my goodness. I would not wanted to be the guy that got knocked out. That did not look fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely probably didn't feel good. I mean, it's crazy, man. Even I was hurting, right? Like, people see these fights, and it's like a lot of times the guy who wins, like, fighting hurts. Like, not just like hitting someone. Like, it hurts getting hit a lot more, but, like, hitting someone can hurt a lot too. Like, kicking someone, like, bone on bone, that hurts, man. Like, I've been more sore after the fights I've won than some of these the 2 fights I lost. You know, it's a tough sport, and honestly, I think I might have even been hurting a little more than him after, obviously, the liver shot, but you recovered pretty quick from that after the fight. But he got me with some good shots too, and he was kicking my leg a bunch. My leg was killing me. I still got some lumps in there from that fight, but yeah, man, I'd rather be on the end I was on than the end he was on.
Yeah, you're 10-2 across the PFL and all your professional fights. Were those 2 losses, were they earlier in your career, or were they like somewhere in the middle, or were they like all over? Like,
Yeah, the first loss was early on. That
Mhm.
was my 4th fight. So I had fought. That was my 4th fight in like 10 months, which is like busy. That's a busy schedule.
Yeah.
I took that on 2 days' notice, and I just fought the weekend before, and I was just in the gym helping my teammate get ready for his UFC fight. And my manager and coach was like, "Hey, you want to fight Sunday? Like, we just got this offer. This kid's opponent pulled out. It was up a weight class." And I was like, he was like the other top prospect in the year. We're actually really good friends now. I was actually just with him last night. But I was like, screw it, I'll do it. And that was the one I got my leg kicked a bunch. I broke my foot super early in the fight, and we had a banger of a fight. His bone was actually sticking out of his toe from kicking my shin. I checked on his kicks, and like the bone was sticking through. It was kind of brutal. But it was a really close fight. He got his hand raised. He was the better guy that night. And then my next loss, I won like 4 straight or 3 straight after that, and then I got my first pro title fight. I fought a really tough kid from Florida, good wrestler. He was on the Contender Series, which is another big show they do to get into the UFC. He had won on that, and then so he like mauled me the first round, like picked me up, slammed me on my head. It was crazy. I did like a full backflip. Like my wrestling went right out the door that round, and I survived. And then I won the next round, was winning the 3rd round, took him down. And I just got caught. I like rushed we call it a pass, like in jiu-jitsu, like passing someone's guard. I kind of rushed my pass and got caught in this weird arm bar. And I just felt my elbow just pop. And so I had to tap. And so that was I was 6-1 during that fight. And I was 6-2, and I haven't lost since. So I'm on a 4-fight knockout streak, all in the first round. So that one lit a fire in me. I changed a lot after that one. I changed up some of my training. I changed up my mentality. I worked with a mental coach. I've just changed everything up, and just like how I compete, how I approach the sport. And I feel like I can beat anyone in the world right now.
Yeah, I feel like it just takes that one match, and then everything changes.
Yeah,
very inspirational.
Everything can click.
What do you do in your life when you're not fighting or training for MMA? Do you have any like hobbies?
Yeah.
Like, do you like to travel? Like, what do you like to do for fun?
Sure. That stuff's really important, right? It's important to have an outlet outside of. This is like my full-time job, right? All I do is train. I don't have like work as work. So it's hard to find time because I train like 2 to 3 times a day. So most of my day is spent doing that. But when I get some free time, I like playing my video games. I like hopping on my Xbox and just laying low. I ride motorcycles. I love walking on my motorcycle, traveling, like you said. I love just exploring. A lot of times I'm traveling because of fighting. Yeah. But this past weekend I got to travel just for vacation, which was cool. So yeah, I'd say just laying low, spending time with my wife, my friends, and just enjoying my downtime when I have it. I'm heading to Abu Dhabi next weekend for some fights to coach. So again, it's for fighting, but it'll be a cool experience just seeing more of the world because of the sport. But definitely not looking forward to a 14-hour flight. That's going to be a long one.
Will that be the furthest that you've ever traveled for MMA? For
just in life. That's the farthest I've gone is Abu Dhabi. Can't say I've ever been to the Middle East before. Yeah. If that's Middle East, I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Now here's a tough question. Having competed in both wrestling or MMA, what do you prefer now?
MMA. But I'd say I'm more like, I just love wrestling in a different way than I love MMA. Like, it's like nostalgic, I guess, for me. Like, like coming in to help out the high school kids, and like, that's like always going to be a part of me. Wrestling is always going to be like almost part of my identity, right? Because all my friends growing up knew me as like, oh, that's the kid who wrestles. Like, I remember I was the one who was like leaving the hangouts to go like cut weight and stuff, and like I don't know, I think it made me who I am. But I try not to let fighting be my identity, because this is a career, right? And you don't want your career to be your identity. You want life after this. For wrestling was like part of my maturity and my development as a kid and growing up. So I'd say I love wrestling in like an emotional way, but I'm more attached to fighting in a way of like as a fan and excitement. Yeah.
And you were mentioning your friends. Are you still in contact with like your friends, even like growing up? Did you train, like, did they also do wrestling growing up?
Most of my friends don't have anything to do with fighting or wrestling, believe it or not. I like to have like a separation from that.
Got it.
I still have friends who like wrestled and stuff, so I talk to sometimes. But no, like I am still friends with. I went to Central Catholic, like I said. I didn't really have a lot of friends there, and especially like that I still talk to anymore. Most of my friends are kids I grew up with in Haverhill, and my best friend I've known since the first grade, and he's still one of my best friends, the groomsman in my wedding, and so I'd say most of them don't even like watch MMA or even like care about it. They just watch it when I fight because they're gonna support me, and I kind of like it that way.
Have like a nice balance. You have your friends that are your MMA friends and wrestling do the same stuff you do, and then it's also good to just have friends that like are just there for your buddies and you can just like chill out and do whatever.
Yep.
And I have the last question for today.
Let's get it.
If you could fight any fighter, like MMA, boxer, wrestler, past or present, it could be anyone that's ever competed, who would it be and why would you choose them?
It's a good question. I get asked this a lot, and I always have to think about it. I guess it depends on the day. I'd say I'd really like to punch Jake Paul in the mouth. One, because I'd probably make a lot of money doing it. And two, I'm sick of watching him beat up these old guys. But I will say, he's not like, I feel like the casual eye could watch them like, it's not a boxer, he doesn't know how to fight. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, that guy has a lot of money. He's paying the best trainers to train. And he's definitely, like, would be, like, on the regional scene, like, a decent boxer. But, man, I know the money that comes with the fight with that guy's a lot. He's a little bit bigger than me, a lot bigger than me, but I think I still knock him out. So, right today, I'm going to say Jake Paul.
I like that answer. I think that'll do it for today's episode. Tom, I don't know about you, but I think we had a great interview today, and I loved hearing your story and just how you're now a fighter in the MMA. You're fighting professionally. I think that's super cool. And I just wish you the best of luck in these upcoming months and years to come. Like, you're going to Abu Dhabi to coach, and I can't wait to see you. I have a good feeling that you'll be fighting in some good fights. And you mentioned the UFC. I'd love to see that happen. I can't wait for that to happen.
Thank you, man. Hoping the best for you, too. Keep doing these podcasts and keep wrestling.
Yes.
Keep on the wrestling mats.
Just want to remind everyone that you can listen to In the Lane podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Also, make sure to check it out on northandovercam.org and type In the Lane podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to drop a follow and a 5-star rating. You can also check out In the Lane podcast on Instagram and make sure to drop a follow and stay tuned for announcements for upcoming episodes. If you're an athlete or a coach, if you would like to be on the podcast, make sure to email inthelane@gmail.com and tell me why you should be the next one on In the Lane podcast. For our guest, Tom Pagliarulo, I'm your host, Mike Lane, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.